Bush said he was watching it on television. Well, I was thinking about that. And when the North Tower was hit, it wasn't on television. I mean, at least it wasn't on ABC. And it wasn't on NBC. And it wasn't on CBS, and it wasn't on CNN. It had to be in closed circuit. CIA.
Well, the documentary footage showing the first aircraft hitting the North Tower was not on any United States television network for at least an hour after the President-select said he saw it at that school. Even more incredible to me is that Andy Card, whom you mentioned, informed the President, as I document in my book, of the first crash before he left the hotel for the school. You would think that if the United States was under any kind of attack or threat, the President would be hustled away to some secure location and not calmly get in a car and driven to the school.
Well, I mean, it's instantaneous. But it wasn't on ABC, it wasn't on NBC, it wasn't on CBS, it wasn't on CNN. It was on CIA. I've got to believe the President in this one. He says, not only once, he says twice.
Yes, he does.
Twice, that he was watching it on television.
I know you said there'll be a time for politics, but you've also said you wanted to change the tone of Washington. Howard Dean recently seemed to muse aloud whether you had advanced knowledge of 9/11. Do you agree or disagree with the RNC that this kind of rhetoric borders on political hate speech?
Look, there's time for politics. And, you know, it's time for politics. And it's an absurd insinuation.
You guys on the left are going so far over the cliff. You're making comparisons to the President Adolf Hitler. Even Howard Dean is coming up with conspiracy theories that the President knew about 9/11.
Howard Dean recently seemed to muse aloud whether you had advanced knowledge of 9/11.
Yeah. Look, there's time for politics. And, you know, it's time for politics. And, it's an absurd insinuation.
Senator Prescott, Skull and Bones Bush, taught his grandson to, quote, claim everything, explain nothing, and deny everything. The FBI knew about this. The CIA knew about this. This was a major setup. It was rigged, like the Reichstag was rigged. Hitler said, well, the commies did this. They burnt down the Reichstag, our parliament.
Goring was strutting around in front of the Reichstag as it was burning. The chancellor at the time, von Papen, arrived in his limo, found Goring shouting, "The communists did this, the communists did this." And you can easily see the parallel where with 9/11, up until it happened, the FBI, the CIA, the whole military intelligence community, the diplomatic community, knew nothing about it. And within 120 minutes of it happening, they knew that Osama bin Laden has done it.
Diejenigen Maßnahmen treffen, die von nun ab und für immer eine Gleichmäßigkeit der politischen Intentionen in Reich und in den Ländern gewährleisten. Es ist Sache des Reichstags, nunmehr seinerseits eine klare Stellung einzunehmen. Am Schicksal des Kommunismus und der sich mit ihm verbrüdenden anderen Organisationen ändert dies nichts.
Our enemy is a radical network of terrorists and every government that supports them.
You've got to transfer power from the people to me. The President, the Fuhrer, and the police.
Mr. Bush said himself, this was another Pearl Harbor, but not in the way George meant. This was another deception.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. It will be recorded that the distance of Hawaii from Japan makes it obvious that the attack was deliberately planned many days or even weeks ago.
An attack facilitated by agents, we call them shadow government people within the U.S. government, to further their own ends and their own agenda. Who benefits and who loses from the attacks of September 11th?
It would be insane for some Arab or a group of Arabs to attack the United States. That would result in the most devastating destruction of the Muslim world you could ever conceive of. Now, Arabs are not stupid people. If we're to believe that, how are we to believe that these guys, 19 of them, got up and took out 4 planes? It's a total contradiction. But these guys are supposed to have taken over these planes with box cutters and a little plastic knife that you'd spread some cream cheese on a bagel that you'd get at Trader Joe. First of all, these guys don't speak very good English, do they?
No, and most of these pilots we're referring to are military veterans.
And then we're taking a look at an instrument panel. My God, look at all those instruments. If they don't speak English, how are they going to read what's on the panel? You ever think about that? H.L. Mencken once said, "One can never underestimate the intelligence of the American public." Here in Northern Ireland, the people speak out. They stand out. And they touch the hearts of all of the people of the world. So we'll explain it to you.
The 9/11 atrocity had a very specific design, a very specific agenda, almost planned with geometric precision. It was an atrocity, it was an exercise in chaos, but it was to bring about a very preconceived plan, which is to bring in a police state, to deprive people of their sovereign rights, but specifically to enter in the Patriot Act, which is anti-constitutional and which the people of America need to resist.
Inside the United States, where the war began, we must continue to give our Homeland Security and law enforcement personnel every tool they need to defend us. And one of those essential tools is the Patriot Act, which allows federal law enforcement to better share information, to track terrorists, to disrupt their cells, and to seize their assets. For years, we have used similar provisions to catch embezzlers and drug traffickers. If these methods are good for hunting criminals, they are even more important for hunting terrorists. Key provisions of the Patriot Act are set to expire next year. The terrorist threat will not expire on that schedule. Our law enforcement needs this vital legislation to protect our citizens. You need to renew the Patriot Act. You need to renew the Patriot Act. You need to renew the Patriot Act. You need to renew the Patriot Act.
Now we have a situation where the Patriot Act 1 has been passed, and it has of course eviscerated the Constitution, many of the important parts of the Constitution, and it has forced people into fear and into groupthink and into a disgusting war that didn't need to take place. But now the same people have put before us the Patriot Act 2, and that one is gaining more resistance. Senior police chiefs, governors, senators, congressmen, they're not liking what they're seeing. Some people think that the federal government have gone out of its mind. But if Patriot Act 2 is resisted, as it is being resisted, and as it should be resisted, the government are quite willing and able to wheel out yet another Holocaust, another atrocity. And in my mind, I have a theory that